Hello to all of our listeners out there around the world. This is Chris and Sandy Coulter with Parenting Autism. Hey, Sandy.
Hey there.
We're on episode 42.
Yes, we are.
And what a lot of people probably don't know out there is that you come up with a lot of the ideas of the show and that we don't talk about them beforehand. So you have an agenda type thing and then I chime in. So we're like having the conversation for the first time.
True. We try to keep it very fresh.
Yeah. So what do you got on tap for today?
Well, today I thought we would talk a little more in depth about Bryce's music therapies that he's been having. And for those who are first-time listeners, first we want to welcome you. We're glad you found us and thank you for sticking around. And for those who have listened to us before and continue to listen, we want to thank you for that. And you've heard us most likely talk about Bryce and his music therapies, but also prior to him having music therapies, the genuine fears and problems that he was having when it came to music, specifically with live instruments. Mm-hmm. And so I thought we would talk some more about that because I think it may benefit other families who may be wondering, well, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And of course, we don't know for every child. We can only speak on behalf of our family and for Bryce, but it's definitely been a very positive thing. Mm-hmm. So we'll go into that in a few because that's probably going to consume most of the conversation. But I know we had a couple other little highlights that have happened in the past couple of weeks since we've recorded. And we were talking about maybe mentioning the whole situation with the balloons recently that happened. Mm-hmm. You want to take lead on that one?
Yeah. So Bryce came home with a balloon from OT about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. And they were playing balloon volleyball at the OT place. Right. So he came home with it. And after his OT, he has ABA therapy. So he wanted to work for playing balloon volleyball with his ABA therapist. And we told him that he could do it outside with her. And when they took their break or whatever, they could go do that. So it had not rained in a long time. The grass was very dry and very sharp. And Bryce had an episode a long time ago with a balloon popping that took him a long time to get over. And it didn't even cross our minds until it happened again.
Till we heard the boom.
They weren't out there but 10 seconds and
it fell to the grass and it popped.
Yeah, it fell to the ground and it popped on the grass and he was very upset. But thankfully, the ABA tech was here to help walk him through that. So he didn't want anything to do with any more balloons after that. And I didn't want it to end like that. So I think it was the following day I went to Walmart and I bought water balloons.
You came with a whole arsenal of options.
I think I bought regular balloons and I bought like the punching balloons where it has a string on the one end and you just punch it. It's like boom, boom, boom,
and they're
boom,
kind
boom.
of thicker, correct?
They are thicker.
Which
so
I thought that would be the best option. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first one I started with. I blew up that punching balloon. And of course he was scared right off the bat. And he's like, no, no, no. And I showed him, I didn't do it loud. I just showed him how to do it. And it took him a few minutes, but he slowly came closer and closer and he thought it looked like fun. Mm-hmm. And then he started to do it and he realized that the balloon was not going to pop and we were inside. So, he felt a little safer. And it worked out great. He got used to it. And then like the next few days after that, that's all he wanted to do was the punching balloon.
Yeah.
And we haven't even touched the water balloons or the other balloons yet. We're just on the punching balloon. And
I'm not sure water balloon would be a great idea because those are kind of meant to break and get you wet.
But they don't make a popping sound.
Yeah, true. But I don't know that it's as much as it's that the sound itself is not the only issue. I'm thinking it's the surprise of here you're looking at it and now it's gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
but if we prepare him in advance, I think it would be a great teaching opportunity for him because he'll be expecting it to possibly break on him. And
he can throw one at me first.
That's what I'm saying. We can have fun with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want him to expose him to it because, it could turn out to be super fun and we don't even know that.
And we do live in South Florida where it can get really hot. So it could be really fun.
Yeah. Speaking of teaching opportunities, well, let me segue into my cymbal project.
Go ahead.
Bryce's equine therapy place wants to set up a sensory trail, they're calling it, where they have different stations where the kids can get feedback from different items that are at the stations. The first station is a cymbal station, like drum cymbals. So the cymbals are different sizes and shapes, and they get to hit them. And
you're going to paint them different colors too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to hear the different sounds from the cymbals. So I reached out on Facebook. I said, hey, I'm looking for used and abused, any condition cymbals. And I had a couple of great people come through for me. One was Brandon from Treasure Coast Percussion. Super nice guy. He donated some cymbals. And another person that we know personally, April, her dad is a drummer. And he ended up giving us a boatload of cymbals. So we're very thankful for the people that donated to that project. And I didn't have quite enough money to purchase the paint and stuff to paint the cymbals. So I actually sold one of the cymbals that was in good condition on eBay. And that's going to give us the money to pay for the paint.
That's so awesome. Yeah, it was perfect.
So in this whole process, Bryce has become interested in the cymbals
very much.
And so I couldn't believe it. We have an old photography stand, and I was like, well, let me put one on the stand and see if he'll hit it, because I didn't know what he was going to do. So he did, and he seemed to like the sound. I couldn't believe it. And so he wanted to hear the sounds of all the different cymbals, and then he wanted to know, I told him that some of them had cracks in them and that I had to cut the cracks out and smooth the edges. So he was all about that project. And the next step is to finish sanding the cymbals down and painting them, and then we'll mount them to some 2x4s for the station. So he is just, he's come out of his shell with these live instruments, and it's just really amazing to see his interest. And as a matter of fact, this morning, when we were getting ready for daddy school at home here, he really wanted to play with the cymbals, because I told him, I said, well, let's start daddy school by playing our cymbals and our bongos.
Okay.
So he was all excited, and so I did a beat on the bongo, and he did the cymbal to the beat.
I did hear you guys doing that.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then he was so interested in what was written on the cymbal, like they have writing on them that tells you what kind of cymbal it is and how big it is. So he wanted that. And then he said, well, what does this say, Daddy? And it was like really fine print. And I'm like, oh, okay, what's that say? It says made in USA. I said that. He says, what does that mean? I said, that means that these cymbals were made in the United States of America. And we just finished a floor puzzle, a 48-piece floor puzzle of the United States, which went together perfectly. So I thought, wow, let me see if the symbol says where exactly in the United States it's made. But it didn't. It just said made in USA. So I got Google, good old Google. I said, where are Zildjian cymbals made in the United States? And it said Massachusetts. So I said, come on, Bryce, let's go look at the map. And I pointed to Massachusetts. I said, this is where the cymbals are made. And he's like, he was putting it all together in his head. And I pointed to Florida where we were. And I said, this is where we live. And this is where the cymbals are made. I said, is that a long drive or a short drive? He says, that's a long drive. I said, yes, it is. So, and then we started talking about the different states. So it was not an intended part of my school lesson today, but having the flexibility of homeschool, that's what you do. If all of a sudden they're interested in something like that, you can just really talk about it and weave it into another thing that we were already doing, which was the puzzle of the United States, you know? So it really worked out great, and it was an exciting morning.
And, it is. And I'm thinking, as you're sharing this story, it's not just quote unquote homeschool opportunities. It's lessons we have to do at home, whether your child goes to a regular school or not. But when you're with them, wherever you are, you just kind of find those teachable moments. Because I'm thinking last night when you had the cymbals outside and you were finishing sanding them and you kind of had them laid out on the grass. Mm-hmm. Well, then he was wanting to know how big they were. So you took out the tape measure and then you started having him measure the width of the cymbals. Mm-hmm. And then you started saying, well, which one is the smallest and which one is the largest? And those all go along with lessons that he's learning in school. And then you had him stack them and stack them from the largest to the smallest. It's just really cool how we're learning to just keep identifying these teachable moments. Because I think you can just get so, maybe it's because our pace has slowed down, which is a wonderful thing with the whole COVID thing. If I'm going to take a plus out of it, it's definitely that the pace of life has slowed down to where we can stop and see and take advantage of these moments that otherwise might be missed. And so I think when we share things like this, hopefully other people will listen and say, oh man, I need to look out for those kind of opportunities too, because your mind's so just focused on other things, it can be missed, but it is really cool.
Yeah. And what we've heard about music with the brain is that it lights up a whole nother part of the brain, which I want to comment on how well he's been doing recently. And I can't really put a finger on it as to why, but we've talked on the show before about these moments that we see with Bryce where he makes breakthroughs and just progresses at a rapid pace in a short amount of time.
Well, it's still going. Right.
So it all started a week and a half ago. He got this boil or bite on his leg, and before we knew it, it was infected, and we called the doctor. The doctor lanced it. Long story short, we got antibiotics and all that, and it cleared up. While he was on antibiotics, we stopped giving him grapefruit because it counteracted with the antibiotics.
Right.
And so I didn't want to do that, and we just said, you know what, we won't give him his supplements while he's on the antibiotic, just in case there's something else there that wouldn't jive. So we didn't do that. And then I would say midway through the 10-day antibiotic run, we just started to see...
Well, back up. Part of our regimen during this was not just the antibiotic, but the salt baths.
Yes.
Because we had to do that because we had to keep he wouldn't let us put a warm compress on there. Mm-hmm. So we said, okay, well then we will put him in a hot bath, as hot as he can tolerate it, to just bring out that infection.
Said. And we already had the salt.
We had Epsom salts anyway.
And we hadn't given him salt baths in a long time.
Not in a while.
Because he had started taking showers.
Exactly.
So
he was getting it twice a day, because we'd give him one in the morning and we'd give him one in the evening just to keep that heat, because his infection was so serious.
Then all of a sudden he would just randomly tell us his thoughts. His sentences were getting more complete and longer.
Detailed.
And we're like, wow, what are we doing? I said, we're never giving him any more supplements ever again.
And more salt baths. I know we're like trying to think, what is it, And he is back on his supplements.
Yeah.
But we are still doing the salt baths.
Salt baths.
And his therapists, this past week, they've each said to me, wow, Bryce is really flourishing. We're seeing so much, more from him. And we are too. And we've been on this accelerating pace. And we've talked, a lot recently about his ABA and how it was kind of like everything came back together in his world at once. Right when we took him out for homeschooling, his language and his OT started again. And so they're working parts of his mind and his body and his core and things that he wasn't getting for a good year plus before that, right? Then we started the ABA right after that. And this ABA is different than his ABA from before. And he's getting the one-on-one. It's not a clinic. It's not like his ABA like he was having at school, which was more observation to keep him focused. They're really working with him. And so he hadn't had that one-on-one type of work in probably over a year as well prior to that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even call what he was getting in kindergarten ABA. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, but it was ABA because that was his service, was to have them there. Not in kindergarten, no, pre-K.
Okay, pre-K, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he did have a tech in pre-K.
Yeah, at the VP when he was 4. So, but that was his ABA service.
Right.
Because he wasn't available in the evening.
Right.
They went there during the day. So he wasn't getting that one-on-one therapy, right? Now he gets that one-on-one. Now it's 2.5 hours each day, but we've been getting him 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, just in addition to everything else. Then we started the music therapy and the equine therapy. And we were just saying all these things have combined. But I really think that the music therapy is a very large essential part of it. So
he is just progressing so much from being scared of the guitar now to playing a happy birthday song with an amplifier.
Yeah. And singing.
And singing
the happy birthday song, which is a song that used to completely freak him out because it was one of those unexpected songs that, I don't know, it just totally wigged him out.
Now, let me clarify that he's not actually playing the happy birthday song, but he's strumming. He is strumming it.
But in his mind, he's playing along as if...
Yes, as if he's playing it.
As if he's playing it in tune and he's singing with it. But he is very much learning the notes, and you've got the videos going, and he's studying it, he's getting it, and he's, picking the strings one at a time, and not just making noise all the time. He's really trying to understand it as well. So I did a little research because I was wondering, what are the benefits of music therapy for autism? And I guess it was about a year ago, we went to a conference, that Taka conference, and they had the music therapist there. And it really intrigued me when she spoke, and just how, like you were saying earlier, it lights up both hemispheres of the brain. And I've always known that words process from one side and music processes from another side. That's why sometimes if you learn, like in school, my history teacher taught us to sing the presidents to 10 Little Indian tune. I can still tell you all the last names of those presidents because that just stuck in my brain because it was a song. Where if I was just quoting them, normally I don't know that it would have stuck so much. So there's definitely facts and proof that, your brain works differently in that way, and you can learn in different ways. For Bryce, I definitely think this has awakened the other side of his brain. And I'm just seeing him even be more open to creativity, like with puzzles. Before, he had really zero interest. In fact, he had a diversion from puzzles. Yeah. Because they had those workstations when he was in VPK, and he did not want to go to the puzzle station at all. He just had zero interest. And so we said, well, let's, it's important for him to just kind of stretch himself, and I'm sure it helps on some level to be able to do puzzles, helps your brain. And so you got the 48 large pieces for the floor.
Yeah, we got the construction site, we got space with the planets, and now we're on the United States of America. So he showed a little bit of interest in the one with the excavator and the construction site. He was I think that
one was a little too complicated.
Maybe it had a lot going on.
A lot going on that one.
And the The one with space was a little more easy to put together because the planets were like different colors and the sun was so big.
Well, he loved it, and he loves space. So if anybody hasn't learned, Bryce, he now knows he wants to be an astronaut when he grows up. So he was
asking about the planets.
You were teaching him about the asteroid rocks. Yeah. Now he wants to know the names of the planets, the site, and again, talk about teaching opportunities. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're doing that. And then I had this Cat in the Hat book that I got at Christmas time as a gift for him, thinking, well, he likes, space. He really didn't show interest, but after that puzzle, last night we were doing the book, and then he was like recognizing, oh, Mercury, oh, Venus, oh, Jupiter, it has the moons, oh, Saturn, it has the rings. Like he's already putting all that together.
Right.
And it's really neat. And that's what I'm talking about. Like his brain is just getting, it's like a sponge. It's just like really he's opening up to all these things. He's still having a brain growth spurt for sure. But with his music, to be a little more detailed in sharing what we're doing with Bryce, he actually has 2 music therapies. So he has one every week that is one-on-one. So he has Mr. Tom, who was coming to the house and bringing different instruments, but now we're doing it
at
home by Zoom. And it's working okay. And I think it's because that's part of the reason why we got drums and we got a cymbal here and we got the guitars. And so we're kind of building up instruments for him to play here since Mr. Tom can't bring them.
Right.
But that keeps him hands-on and active. And Mr. Tom, when he works with him, to kind of give you a snapshot of what a session would be like, he's very calm and he'll talk to Bryce. Like he talks to him in ways that I think, I don't know if Bryce is getting that. But then I have to remember that other people need to be able to talk to Bryce like that, because even if he's not, eventually he will. And it, if only we talk to him in the way that we know he understands, and he's going to have more difficulty having conversations with other people.
Plus, Mr. Tom's been doing this for a while, so he knows what he's doing,
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes I'm thinking, Bryce ain't going to know what you're talking about.
And that's okay.
But then it's okay. And then sometimes Bryce just surprises me, and he does know. But he's really great with him. And then he's trying to teach Bryce to write songs with him. So I notice he does that almost every week now. And then he's writing the words up on the screen because Bryce is reading now. And so he'll write it about a topic that Bryce wants. And that's where, like, I'll hear him asking Bryce questions, you know, and trying to get him to participate. But that's what's good. They're pulling conversation out of him gradually. And so Bryce likes French fries. That's not a big secret.
French fries and hot dogs.
French fries and hot dogs. So they did a song about French fries and hot dogs. And then it was the next day I heard Bryce ask
Siri?
Siri, he goes, Siri, play the French fry song. Because he was trying to find the song that he had written with Mr. Tom. But it's really cool, and it's definitely a gradual, slow pace. He's kind of, I think he's trying to figure out what instruments Bryce is drawn to.
And like every instrument we introduce him to, he really seems to take to it. So I don't know where he's going to end up.
Yeah.
He might be one of those people that plays all the instruments.
He may. I think he seems to have the most interest in actually playing the guitar, although he's really taken to the drums now.
And now he's singing with you on the piano.
And now with the piano, he doesn't have an interest in playing it really. I mean, he'll come and bang a few keys. But before, he wouldn't even let me
He'd go
play.
Into the other room.
And then when I played the other night, he did tell me it was loud. So that was good that he told me that. And so I quieted, I played at a much lower decibel. He was very excited when I was playing. I don't know what this is about. And then he started, I don't know if you were in here, he started running laps.
Yeah.
In his big circle that he likes to run.
Yeah.
And then he told me, I can hear the beat with my feet.
Yes.
So he could hear his feet making rhythm while I was playing the piano. And I think it's so cool now.
I never even thought of that.
Right. But he hears music in ways that you and I don't even hear music. And he's pointing that out to me with different things. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just lighting him up.
And the way we got him to the piano was that you learned his favorite song, which is A Million Dreams from The Greatest Showman.
Yes.
And so when we asked him if we wanted you to play that on the piano, he's like, yes. Like, the unsure yes. this. And when you started playing it, he lit up and he's like, oh my goodness, Mommy's playing this
He couldn't believe it was coming out of the piano. He was so excited.
And then he's like, Mommy, sing it.
Yeah. And then he came over and sang it with me.
Yes.
So really, really cool stuff. So we've seen that, and that's his one-on-one music therapy. And then we weren't planning on doing another one, but when we got him into the equine therapy, Miss Christie, who has the horses there, she really loves music too. And so she had been saying from the beginning, her vision was to have the equine therapy and to have some type of music therapy for the kids. So Bryce had gotten the scholarship to do the music and the mini horses for 4 weeks. And that's when he met Miss Liz. And man, he just really took to her.
Liz,
oh my goodness. And Miss Liz, she has a gift. You know, she's very good.
Again, calm.
Again, very calm.
Back.
And her job is actually music therapy, and she does it for hospice care with adults, and, you know, and then she does music therapy with children. So when we do Bryce's sessions with her, there are other children there. And right now there's only one other child. It changes from time to time. But I like that because it gives them a little bit of a social aspect.
A friend.
And she also does a great job with him that makes it different than Mr. Tom. She will try to get the kids to talk about their emotions and their feelings. So she'll say, how are you feeling today? And then they have to independently say how they're feeling. And then she'll put that into the song and say how they're feeling. And then she'll ask them, like, it was raining when we went on Friday, so we were inside the barn. So and Bryce, God love him, he still has fears with the rain, which obviously we're going to have to work on again. It hasn't rained in a while, so it's all coming back, the anxiety. But she was asking them about rain and the lightning and the thunder, and then she worked it into songs and, you know, how the boys felt about it and stuff. So it's pretty neat how he has 2 different therapists with 2 different techniques. And it's 2 different settings completely, because one's in home, one's out of home, one's by himself, one's with others. And I think by having and we also decided not to do that one every week. We had the option of weekly or every other week. And we just thought, I want Bryce to not get, I don't know, I want him to appreciate it more and get the most out of it. So I thought if we did every other, and then if we found that he really wanted to do once a week, we could. But I think that's a good pace.
Bryce does have a full schedule with everything that he has going on, but the key is that he enjoys everything that he does with every person that is assigned to him. You know, so if he did not enjoy it and was not making progress, we would not do it at all. But he enjoys his OT, his speech, his music, his equine, all ABA. Of that, his ABA.
Yeah.
He is excited when he goes to one of those or they come here. He looks forward to it. And that makes my heart happy because he's getting to interact with other people and he's learning at the same time. You know, it might not be other kids.
But he does have the new little friend at OT now.
Yes, and he's got the friend with the music therapy. But once we open back up after this virus thing, then we'll focus on that social. We'll get more friends for him.
For sure. So, the music has been absolutely a wonderful addition to Bryce's world. And another thing, because you had mentioned how much he enjoys all his therapists, but he has begun in just the past 2 to 3 weeks expressing his love verbally for us and for Miss Melanie, who was his ABA tech. I mean, in ways that it's just because he's so happy. It's not like he's repeating it or he's saying it with a social cue. It's like it's bursting out of him. And he'll just be, I love you so much. Yeah. I love you too.
I love Miss Melanie.
I love Miss Melanie. I love you, Mommy. Or he'll tell you, I love
and
Daddy.
And then he'll come over and give me a
Mommy.
kiss.
Yeah.
You know, and say, I love you, Daddy.
So much we're getting this. And, you know, I hope that gives encouragement to other parents out there who are waiting still to hear that, because we waited a long time.
I mean,
we
it
used
wasn't,
to get it very sporadically, like maybe twice a year, if
that was
if
like
that.
if we prompted him or something. But
Not where it's just.
I'll just never forget when we pulled him out of kindergarten and they said, well, he's going to have to go into a unit or something. And we pulled him out. And that first day of Daddy's school, he told me he loved me twice. And I was floored.
I know.
Floored. Out of the blue. No prompting. Just wow.
And that was September.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we've heard it really since then until April.
Right.
So, 7 months later. And now it's almost daily.
Mm-hmm.
Almost daily and multiple times a day, just depending on his mood. But that's Bryce. That's what he's doing now. He's sharing everything with us, the good and the bad and the ugly. I mean, last night he was telling us, no, I don't want to go to bed. I'm not tired yet.
Right.
I need 3 more minutes, and I'm like, good for him, man.
Yes.
I mean, we have to work on how he's telling us stuff, but good for him. He is like being able to really say.
He's explaining things.
What
his
he's
thought
thinking,
process.
and then he's giving us more details.
I don't want to do that
behind
because,
right.
And so, I don't know, somehow we incorporated the because word. And so he knows that after because comes a reason.
Yes.
So we would always, I think we always asked him questions. Well, what's the matter? He'll say.
And he wasn't responding to why.
Right.
I don't know why, but he would not respond to the word why. So we'd say because.
Yep.
And he responded to because.
And so now if he doesn't understand something that we're saying, he'll say, because.
Yeah.
And then we fill in the blank.
I know.
It's very cool.
Yeah. So it's been quite amazing, all the things. Another thing I want to share real quickly before we wrap is, well, we did a little summary about, I shouldn't say we did a summary. We reviewed a summary of how Bryce should be prepared for first grade. Mm-hmm. Just to kind of have a measuring stick so we know, okay, well, how is he doing with what a kindergartner is supposed to be doing? And one of the things they had on there was charts and graphs. I'm like, charts and graphs? What the heck are they expecting our 6-year-old to be doing with charts and graphs? I'm thinking complicated. And I have to say, when we did that summary, he excels in math. He excels in his sight words, and he's getting all of that. But there's obviously comprehension is still a huge area. But at least it lets us know where we need to improve, which was good. But anyway, so you took the challenge of the charts and graphs, and you made out a list that had, I think it was 5 different colors and then other color.
Right.
So that if one of the houses didn't fall into that color, Bryce could say other color. So then we took him for a walk around the block, and so we said to him,
the color of the houses.
We want you to tell us the color of the house. And then when you tell us the color, you're going to color in the square that goes on that graph for that color. And you had the colors on there so he could see brown and yellow and blue and pink, because we have a pink house in the neighborhood. So it helped him, right? So I noticed when he said, he's starting to tell us the colors of the house. And the first one, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then a couple of them, I'm like, I didn't correct him because I wanted to hear him. But he wasn't saying the color I was thinking. So I'm thinking, well, if you ask me, what's the color of the house? I'm going to give you the color of
the main part.
The main part of the house, not the trim, not the garage, but the main color of the house. Bryce was giving us the color of the trim in the garage. That's where his eye was going to, apparently.
To the garage, yeah.
And that's the color that he was giving us. So I started picking up on that, and I'm like, interesting. Okay. And it was consistent throughout the entire block that's what he did. And then you took the learning lesson from it and said, okay, well, what's the least number of color houses that we saw? What's the most? We achieved the purpose of the graph. But what my takeaway was, how enlightening that his brain genuinely processes information in a different way than you and I process information. And that's how it's going to be in life for him. And doesn't mean that he's right or wrong, because we didn't say what's the base color of the house. But if he were to take a test in school, for an example, and they said, what's the color of the house? And he put black because the garage is black when the house main color is white, he would get that answer wrong. And yet he's right in some ways.
Right.
And I think that's just a perfect example of the autistic brain, Bryce's autistic brain, how it processes information in a different way, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that it's different based on what definition and what perspective that you're looking at. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is really interesting. And we know that comprehension is one of his sticking points. So I ordered him sequence cards that have puzzle pieces. So
yeah, those are
like
cool.
the life cycle of the butterfly. So it's teaching him sequence, how things happen in order while reading a story about it. And then visually, and he's also learning, the life cycle of a butterfly. Yep. So he's getting two things out of it, comprehension and learning about the butterfly. His comprehension is so bad at times. I could say the cat was sleeping in the bag. I could just read him one sentence like that, and I'll say, Bryce, where was the cat sleeping? And he would say, the cat.
I know.
I'm like, wow, I really couldn't believe it. And I tried that with several just different sentences, and
I tried it too, and then
just didn't understand.
He answered Bryce on one of them, and Bryce wasn't even in the sentence.
Yeah.
He's not getting it.
His brain is very complex, and it's hard to get through to that part of it.
But that's where we have our challenges, right?
Yeah.
So the great news is we're identifying where his strengths are, and then we're identifying where the weaknesses are so we can hone in on those. And then one of his former ABA techs, she was really awesome and stays in touch with us. And she even brought over a book to help Bryce. So a little tip for other parents if they might be struggling with this. She brought us a book that we were familiar with because we already had it on our bookshelf.
Yep.
But she would take like a page from it, and then she had a strip that had 3 options, because you find with Bryce, the more you give him choices, the better he does in getting it.
The book is If You Give a Mouse a Cookie.
You give a mouse a cookie.
So she laminated a piece of paper with questions, like one of the first parts of the book is, the mouse went to get a cookie and have a glass of milk. And he put a straw in the glass to drink the milk or whatever. So then the laminated piece of paper would say, well, what did the mouse put in the milk to drink the milk? And then you would have a ball, not a ball, but a straw. And
actually,
then
2 things that didn't make sense in a straw.
And then 2 other things. And so you would take it off of the Velcro and put it in the answer spot. And of course, now we've had it for a few days. He's memorized the book. So it's difficult sometimes to get the comprehension part through to him.
That's so true. He does memorize everything, so we're having to constantly mix it up. But, that's what I'm saying. Like when we're working with him, when we're reading, we're trying to put the sentences back. Sometimes we give him choices. Sometimes we try it in a different way of rephrasing it. He did pretty good last night with the space book. Answering some of my questions. I was pleased. I don't know if it's just because he was more focused because it was such a topic that interests him.
Another interesting thing about him is people and their faces, because we've noticed that when we're out and about, he'll say, oh, there's Miss Melanie. And it's not Miss Melanie, or it's there's so-and-so. No, that's not so-and-so. And then if we go back in his scrapbooks and show him pictures of people that he's met and visited and spent, I would say,
even cousins,
significant
relatives.
amount of time with, who's that? And then he just sits there, or he might ask us back, who's that?
Right.
And we're like, wow, he doesn't have that memory. And I don't know if that's from the stroke that he had, or if it's autism related, or I just don't
Right.
that part of the brain with his eyesight. Maybe it has something to do with the garage colors.
Maybe because remember when he had his stroke, the area of the bleed was vision.
Mm-hmm.
So they prepped us that he may be blind.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not blind.
Right.
And I don't think he's colorblind either because he recognizes colors, which is
Mm-hmm.
good. But his vision, it may be the way that it rewired. Because when you're saying like he mistakes somebody
Mm-hmm.
for someone else, normally they have the same color hair and they usually have like the same similar build, similar hair, similar length of hair.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the face, like you said. That
Right. It's obvious that it's not the person.
Obvious that it's not that person.
So I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe because he doesn't look at the faces.
And maybe he doesn't. Because he's
eye contact.
Yeah, and
right?
he's still very weak with his eye contact. He's a perplexing child to figure out in so many ways, but he's also like the most lovable,
Joyful,
happy,
yeah.
excited little boy that his joy is so infectious. And as his mom, it just warms my heart that really everyone that meets this child, he steals a piece of their heart because he's so... That's just Bryce. He's
I think he's
so
been
loving.
extra joyful lately because he's starting to understand things.
Oh, he's so excited
and
that he's
able
understanding.
to communicate better. Mm-hmm. And I think he's excited about that.
He is. It's really good stuff. So,
Anything else on our platter?
No, I think that's pretty good chat today. People probably heard enough and said, all right, they're caught up with us here. But things have been going really good. I have been working from home. That's continuing. I personally want to say that it's been a gift for me because I get to spend so much more time, even though I'm working and I'm in the office and in the space. When I take my little break, you guys are right there. When I take my lunch break, I get to spend 30 minutes with you, And
Yeah.
Bryce is so excited that I'm working from home. And yet he also comprehends, talking about comprehension, he gets that I'm working. And so he knows I work for Team IP. That's the Team IP computer because we have that hooked up Monday through Friday. And then we switch it back to my personal computer on the weekend.
Yeah.
And he even knows on Saturday, he's like, no Team IP today. Like he knows that. And he's respectful that when my phone rings, I have to answer it for Team IP. And that I'm in there working. And I think that's wonderful that he's able
He knows not to disturb
to
you.
get that. Yeah, with no issues. So it's been great for us. And we've all been healthy. The only downside for us, probably the biggest downside for us, is just that we can't visit Mama and Papa really in person yet. Or anybody. But I think I'm most conscious of visiting them with Dad's health.
Yeah.
But the FaceTime, they're home all the time now because they're also not working and traveling. So Bryce is
Doing laundry together.
Yeah, they virtually do their laundry.
Watch the clocks and wait for the chimes.
Bryce, they have their little routine. It's very
fun.
special.
Yeah.
And we're just making the most out of everything.
And the great thing is that Mama is asking him questions while he's on FaceTime with her. So she's creating conversation back and forth, which he needs a lot of.
Yes.
So that's a blessing. And then I also wanted to mention the new the junior
the chores?
Yes.
Yeah.
Financial Peace Junior.
Yes.
So when it first came in a few weeks back, I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. And then I realized, well, Bryce, he doesn't have any concept of money. What are we going to do? Maybe I'll save this till later. I thought he was ready, but maybe he's not. So we started talking about the coins and what they're worth, 1 cent, 5 cent, 10 cent, 25
Boy, he struggles with that too.
He struggles with that. He looks right at it and looking at a penny. It's a different color than the rest of them.
He thinks it's
he's still,
yeah.
I think he knows it now, but he really struggled with that. And then it got to a point, I'm like, well, he's going to really need to want something to buy in order for this program to work where we can introduce chores.
Yeah.
So we play this game at night, what's it called? Wordplay, yeah.
On Alexa.
Yep. And so she mentions these things called power-ups that you can buy. So he's like, buy power-ups, Alexa. And we're like, no, we don't want you to purchase things. And so that was the motivator. We was like, oh, this is a great time because he wants these power-ups really bad, and he keeps talking about it. And so that's when we introduced him to the big piggy bank. So it has, I did a YouTube video on it. It has save, spend, and give. So the save is for saving like for something big, like a bicycle or something. Give is to give to God or to the church. And then spend is for like smaller things like games that might cost $1 or $2. So we're giving him pennies right now until we figure out how we're going to do all that. Right. So he's all excited to get pennies. And it's also worked with him eating his food by himself instead of with assistance. It's worked with him completely dressing himself without assistance, drying himself off after a bath, wiping his butt after poopy
by himself.
So we're like, oh, we're going to play this up because...
And he's happy with pennies.
Yes, he's happy with pennies.
Because, again, he didn't really get it. He just knows it's money.
Right.
And he said, it's so funny that
now
this is what motivated
making
him.
up chores to do.
Yes.
So he can get money.
Yeah, so one of them was, what was that one chore? Clean up spills. And we're like, let's not tell him that one because he will intentionally spill things so that we have to pay him to clean them up because that's how he works.
So now he's like, he's making things up, like the things that he already does, like brush his teeth.
Yeah.
He'll be like, oh, okay. And now after I brush my teeth, I get money. No, that's not how it works, buddy. But
it's cute.
It is cute and it's working. So we're very thankful for that.
It is so funny. A power pack of all things. And he doesn't even really know,
what it means.
But I said, well, how much is it? And I asked Alexa or something. I don't know if it was the same thing, but it said $50.99.
Right.
And he does know, like when we tell him things are a lot of money, he'll be like, that's a lot of money, but we need $50.99. I need $50.99. And Alexa will always say, are you interested? And we'll be like, no.
No, we're not interested.
And so Bryce goes, because what's interested? And I'm like, well, interested means that you want to buy it, but you don't have the money, so you can't. So you have to say you're not interested. So after he gets his money, he'll say, I'm not interested. I don't have enough money. I'm not interested. And I'm like, that's right. You cannot be interested until you have enough money. So It's so cute the way that he's just coming along and starting to get some concepts. And you know, he does have interest in the odd, quirky things, but we understand that's part of his adorableness and a part of the way that he thinks. So, anyway, it's good stuff.
Good stuff.
I would say that we can wrap up on that note, and
we wish everybody well out there.
Yes.
Stay safe. We are praying for you. You are in our prayers, all of you parents out there and caregivers of little guys on the spectrum. You know, we're with you in this, and just stay safe.
Yep, and we hope that this just brings a little bit of sunshine to your day and what's been a kind of a dark, gloomy time, but, you know.
Make lemons out of lemonade?
Yeah.
Is that what I said? Lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah, you can't put the lemonade back in the lemon. It's okay.
What came first, the chicken or the egg, right?
Oh, okay. I guess that's a sign we better go.
Right.
All right, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.